Hey, rockers, Erock here, and I'm excited about being on the ETA Files.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me this week on ETA Files. I'm very excited because we got the one guy who rocks, the one and only Erock. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing? You're all just laid back in your Elvis mansion over there. I love it. You know what?
Thank you.
It reminds me a little bit of Ronnie Craig's whatever it is, his hotel empire he's got going on with
Oh yeah. The
the Presley
condos and the
Presley penthouse and all
yeah,
that stuff.
I've stayed at them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool. I think he actually stole
Well,
the
this is
idea.
my. Go ahead.
No, I think he stole the idea from you. It looks very similar.
This is my Elvis room. I've got so much stuff people give me and stuff, and I've got stuff in the garage I can't even put. I don't have room on the wall. I have an Elvis bathroom downstairs. Downstairs is in the finished basement is Betty Boop and Elvis because my wife is a big Betty Boop collector. So that's
Okay.
pretty much what you see.
Betty Boop. That's awesome, man. Betty Boop and Elvis.
Yep.
what, what a combination. And they got together and had a kid named E-Rock.
I even have my doll from the Danbury Mint collection that my mother got me. Oh, probably when I was about 13, 14, maybe, in the Aloha outfit, the Eagle, and we have Betty Boop bride right next to Elvis downstairs. So they're like right there.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Uh, so you've been an Elvis fan for a while.
I've been an Elvis fan since my mother took me to see him in 1973 at the Anaheim Convention Center.
Mm. 73. What month?
I think it was April.
So just shortly after Aloha.
Yeah. hmm
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the, I'm probably only going to get one more jumpsuit because I don't really, I mean, I have like three maybe at the most. You remember me when I first started out, I was like 290 pounds,
Yeah.
and, but I want to get the Thunderbird that Elvis was wearing when I seen him in concert. So that'll be my last final jumpsuit. So,
Yeah. The Thunderbird, that's the is that the one that's not
and
beaded or
that's,
what?
it's, no, it's beaded.
Oh, okay. It looks like the
Yeah.
Aloha, but it's not.
No, not the Thunderbird. I don't
Okay.
think. Doesn't look like the Aloha. You're thinking of the American Eagle, maybe.
Which one am I thinking of? I gotta
You can
here.
look up the Thunderbird on, I mean, B&K or whatever. But
Hey, guess what?
luckily,
It's right here.
huh?
So that's the one that he was wearing whenever you saw him.
Yeah. I actually have two pictures that somebody sent me with Elvis at the Anaheim Convention Center on stage and that. So it's really cool because I know I was in that audience at the age of 12. And I'll tell you, man, sorry.
Well, let's see. That's probably been
You
about
know, I
two
get
minutes.
emotional,
It's been
so I
two
can't help
minutes,
it.
and E-Rock's already gotten emotional. Oh, it's going to be awesome.
When that music started and everything, I just, yeah, it was unbelievable. And
That's
that's why I
awesome.
couldn't resist to say what I did on my videos for the Branson Elvis Fest, that
Yeah,
at
man.
least I can say that I saw Elvis, a lot of people have, but yeah, that was life changing for me
Yeah.
and actually saved my life, to tell you the truth. And Elvis Radio reads my story quite often on Elvis Radio. I'll
No-
send that to you sometime if you've never heard it. So,
Well, you want
um,
to talk about it now?
well, yeah, you,
I love
you
me
know
some
this is going to
E-Rock.
happen.
I love me some E-Rock. God bless it. You're so sincere. While you're thinking about it, here's something very interesting. I just realized for the first time, you're 12 years older than I am,
Yeah.
because you were 12 when you saw Elvis in 73. I was born in 73. Now, here's something really cool. I didn't even realize this until after I had started. They performed two different Aloha from Hawaii concerts.
Yeah,
The alternate and then the regular one.
right.
I was born on the day the alternate Aloha was performed and recorded.
That's freaking cool.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yeah, totally cool.
There was a few years ago, more like 20 years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago. I saw a CD collection. It was the alternate Aloha from Hawaii. And I was like, the alternate, huh? And underneath it said January 12th, 1973. And I was like, whoa, how about that?
Yeah, we didn't see it live here in America.
No, it was shortly after.
Yeah,
But yeah, they recorded it, I guess, in case there was any issue or whatnot. Then they wanted to have a backup. That's why they did
right.
the alternate. So yeah,
I remember watching it.
yeah, yeah. My
I remember watching '68 too. I
yeah,
was 7.
that's awesome, man. You
Yeah.
know, I just talked to not long ago Rick Cicito, and his uh I don't know, he talked about seeing Elvis and how it had a major impact on him. And for crying out loud, he was performing 72 on Broadway while Elvis was still alive, and in many ways in his prime. Um, so it's just interesting to hear how seeing Elvis has had an impact, not just on ETAs who've been lucky enough to see him, but people in general, man. People always want to talk about it. The time I saw Elvis, it's pretty cool.
Mhm. A lot of great stories out there, like mine that, he touched a lot of lives.
Yeah. So talk to me, talk me through this. Early on in your life, how is it that you got into and got familiar with Elvis and how that played a role in your life?
Okay. Well, uh, my aunt and uncle adopted me when I was 6 years old. Uh, my family my sisters and all of us were all split up, and because my real mother uh, had paranoid schizophrenic, she was schizophrenic, stuff like that, and my dad was um, my dad, he looked a lot like Evil Knievel back in the day. Kids thought he was Evil Knievel all the time when he drove his Harley and stuff. But and he was in and out of prison sometimes and stuff like that. In Kansas City area. I'm originally from Northeast Kansas City, where most of my family was from. And my grandma was full-blooded Italian. She lived over on Norton, since like 1920 something. And I remember my mother. I never blamed her or anything, but because of her trying to get back at my dad, she abused me, and my dad wanted me to take me away from that. And I remember us being up in grandma's bedroom upstairs, even at the age of 6. I remember that. I remember that night, and asked me if I wanted to go live with Aunt Billy and Uncle Grady, and and I just for a little bit, I said sure, and and I, Aunt Billy and Uncle Grady, who to me are my mom and dad to me since I was 6 years old. So I ended up staying. I grew up in a nice home, things like that, and everything. But they never. You still had to. They took me a lot of places. We did a lot of things, but they also taught me to make sure that that you know how to finance and take care of your money and things like that. And they taught me properly, even though. But Billy, my mom, my aunt, always be my mama to me. Even though I loved my mom and dad too, my real mom and dad, and I never held anything against my mother because I know she had some mental problems back in the day, and so I had a rough time though, being separated. You kind of feel like maybe it's your fault that your parents are not together anymore, and you wonder what you feel like maybe they don't love you anymore. And then you grow up being picked on and mistreated by people in school, and just a lot of things were going on. And as they read the story on Elvis radio quite often, it's been on there since, like, I don't know, or a long time. But anyway, um, I came to the point of, it was after I seen Elvis, but I came to the point of wanting to commit suicide at that age. And I literally, I had a 44 Magnum in my hand, and I was just done because I didn't feel loved, even though I had great aunt and uncle, great parents, did everything, but still there was just a lot missing, you know, and and I, you know, I'm thankful that I didn't pull the trigger that day, uh, even though, but because for some reason, I thought about how cool Elvis was, and I seen him and how he touched people's lives and like that. And I thank God that my mom took me to see him, because I think it really helped me. Because I was just that Elvis fan in my room, listening to my 8 tracks or spinning my albums, and pretending to be Elvis with a brush in the mirror and stuff when nobody was around. And uh, I think that helped me, and I'm glad. I wouldn't have 6 beautiful kids, a beautiful wife, and 16 grandchildren if that would have took place.
Yeah.
So thank God that didn't happen.
Amen. Amen.
And but then I remember coming home from school. I was 16. My grandma, we had an apartment up over the garage, and I got home from high school, and she came downstairs and she looked at me and she goes, "Honey, you need to sit down. I got something to tell you." And I said, "What?" And she looked at me and she said, "Elvis died today." I looked at her like she was nuts at first, I'm like, ain't no damn way Elvis died. So then she turned on the news, and sure enough, there it was. Wow. I was devastated. You know, I cried all night long in my room. Some people think you're weird, but it was like losing a family member, even though you didn't personally know him. But God used that man and my mom. That's my story. Elvis, or God used Elvis and my mom to help save my life, is my story. And I just couldn't believe it. And those, I just didn't, I felt like, what am I going to do now? Because that held me together when I was being picked on by others, and just all kinds of situations happening. And that was my, you know, listen to my Elvis music. And, you know, we didn't have YouTube back then like these guys. I appreciate they can study Elvis and everything. I had the 3 o'clock movie that would come on once in a while back in the day.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just, I felt like, how am I going to, because believe it or not, uh, the Elvis music and Elvis helped keep me going. You know,
Sure.
it really add it, and I know it's not Elvis that did. I know God uses, sometimes God uses the foolish things to, how does it say, to confine the wise or something like that. So not saying Elvis is foolish at all, but I think uh, my mother, who saw Elvis, Billy, my aunt, my mother, if I say my mom, I say Billy. saw Elvis in concert probably 8 or 10 times in Vegas. And her three favorite guys were always Elvis, number one, but then Wayne Newton and Tom Jones. She would always go and see them.
Awesome.
So she's the one that put Elvis into my life, you know, because of her love for Elvis. And, as a kid, you listen to that first time ever hearing the music and getting to see some photos. I have the actual photo that my mom took of Elvis backstage in 1956 at the Shrine Auditorium. Nobody else has that photo but me. I also have the signature that he signed for. She used to work for a Hollywood magazine years ago. I've got photos of my mom. She was a member of the Screen Actors Guild. I've got photos with her and Jack Benny, Barbara Stanwyck. I mean, all kinds of people. I've got
Wow.
her autograph book. So, she was the influence of Elvis to me. And
Yeah.
it just kind of went from there, you know.
You know, I
But as
I
I laid, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say something. You made a comment, and I just wanted to say this before you continue. I don't think that you know. I don't think there's anything wrong with. You made it sound like Elvis was kind of a weird, whatever, foolish thing to save your life. But here's the truth of the matter,
I
Erock, and
don't
I
mean
think
that
people
like
would.
that. That's
I
what I
know,
meant.
but you ever notice? I've said this for years. You ever get yourself in a bad mood, down, bummed out, just bummed out, whatever. And then pop in an Elvis movie, and guess what? You,
Yeah.
you end up feeling better. It's
Mhm.
sometimes campy, sometimes goofy, and sometimes simpler than real life is. But man, there's a lightheartedness about it.
Yeah.
There's a relatability to him. He's also, kind of happy go lucky in some of the stuff. Things work out, despite whatever plot problem there is. So I can understand totally like where, especially growing up, um, being young, being easily influenced and whatnot. That because even as an adult today, if I'm in a just bummed out or whatnot and need a little pick me up, I'll throw on while I'm working or something, just even the audio to some of these old Elvis movies, and it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to walk away from it without feeling a little bit
It
uplifted.
it's great that you can just go on and find it anywhere now, but we just, had to wait for that 3 o'clock movie one day, besides the beach movies, with
Right.
Annette Funicello and all them. Those were those. They used to call me Eric Von Zipper. You remember Eric Von Zipper on the beach movies at all? They
I
made
don't,
fun
but
of me. Oh, called me Eric Von Zipper. So
all right. All right. So this was a early, I mean, this is beyond like just a casual fan who who just likes Elvis's music. This was something that went a lot deeper in your
yeah.
life. Um,
Yeah, because if anybody knows me, and trust me, I admire guys who study their craft and do all the things that they do to try to put on the best performance that they can. Uh, that's not something I really do. Uh, I remember Patty Perry, my good friend, who was the only female member of the Memphis Mafia. She used to always go, "You need to move around a little more," you know, when you're on stage. And but I don't know. For me, I'm a big Elvis fan, and I love his music, and I love his movies, but it's the spiritual side that affects me the most. And that's something that, well, let's go back to when he died, and I laid there all night. I didn't sing back then or anything like that. I pretended in front of the mirror and stuff like that. But um, I don't know if it was a proper prayer or anything like that, but I just said, I was so emotional. I mean, I was just devastated, man. Like I just lost my family member, It affected me tremendously when Elvis died. I still cry sometimes. So I remember saying a prayer and I said, can you, I want to be able to sing one day. I want to be able to sing like Elvis. And I want to be able to touch people like he touched me and touched so many others. And I said, God, I just want the spirit of Elvis, is what I said in my prayer. Now, granted, I didn't become I sang Elvis, but I didn't become an Elvis tribute artist until I was 45 years old, 2007.
Wow.
And when I look back at asking about that, now I wouldn't know how, Elvis was and stuff like that. But when I became good friends with Joe Esposito and Shirley and Patty and a few others, there's one thing that they always said separately, and I even have it on video of Joe saying it. He said, it isn't the fact that Erock dresses in a jumpsuit and that he sings Elvis songs. What we love about Erock is his spirit reminds us of our friend. That that means more to me than anything. And that came four separate different times from four individuals close to Elvis. That means a lot to me. So those kind of things to me, I mean, don't get me wrong, contests are great and everything like that, and I love being a part of them and stuff, but I really don't go out there trying to win a contest. I go out there hoping that I can touch somebody's life when I sing. Because now I'll take you back into my church days and youth when I used to work with youth. And there was a revival that hit one night, and I was involved with a lot of troubled youth and stuff like that. So I knew their backgrounds, I knew their family lives, I knew what was going on with them and stuff like that. And I never tried to just hit them over the head with the Bible. I just tried to be their friend and just be there for them and stuff like that. And I remember at night in Potter's house that we had, um, the Holy Spirit just like hit big time. We had about 100 people in there, and I kid you not. I mean, it was some people may believe the stuff and some people may not. That's people's choices. But when you see an entire group of young people, just imagine standing in front of a big wave in Hawaii, and then it just knocks you over. It literally, every youth went down. You felt this, and just boom, they all went to the ground. And there was wailing and there was crying, and I witnessed this. And it was beautiful. And then we had this lady in our church, this black lady. She's such a sweetheart, but she had the gift of prophecy, okay? Because God gives you different gifts. Everybody has a different gift. So she was going to these kids, these teenagers, and she started saying things that only I would know about their life, and telling them that God's going to take care of this situation and you're not going to have to worry. It was blowing my mind, dude. I mean, because I knew these kids. So I knew she had that gift and God was speaking through her and speaking to these kids. That was an amazing thing that happened that night. And I'll never forget it. But then I'll never forget when she came up to me. She looked to me in the eyes, and it was like eyes of heaven, man. It was just like, woo, like, I don't know, maybe you've been to church before and stuff, and I don't know if you have or not,
Oh
but,
yeah.
I have. That's where I learned to sing. I was years ago. My mom used to beg me to get in the choir, and I never would, but I finally did. That's a whole nother story. We probably don't have time. I could write a book, really, but anyway, she comes up and she looks at me and she says to me, she says, God wants me to tell you that he's going to give you the gift of healing in your singing
Hmm.
when you sing. And I was like, well, I thought you had to be slapped on the head and stuff like that. Pray for it. She said, no, God's given you the gift of healing and you're singing and you're going to touch lives one day and people, and it not necessarily going to be a physical healing, which it has happened, but spiritual healings. And so for me, when people tell me I need to move more and I need to do this,
Yeah, I get
it
it.
takes away my focus of what I want to do. Okay. Because like I remember one of the promoters one time, you need to lose that damn Erock and start being more Elvis on stage. Well, you know what I told her? I said the last time I checked, I'm Erock. So this is what you're gonna get. So I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. Um, but I almost gave up singing because I took her literally seriously back in the day when I worked for you. I sang in church and Southern youth group and stuff, but I wanted to see this, what she said. I wanted to see it happen, and it wasn't happening. And people were, you know, I didn't mind the praise you get. Oh man, you sing so good, and pat you on the back, and oh man, that was awesome. And I look for the meat to something. I want to see that it's really going to take place.
Hmm.
So that day, that night was my last time singing because I told God, I said, you better, I said, I did. I called him out. I said, you need to show me this. If this gift is for real, I said, which I believe it is, but please show me. I'm tired of waiting. I want to see, because I had a hard time accepting praise. Yeah, I didn't feel right about it. It just made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so I sang the song, "The Blood Will Never Lose Its Power" is the song I sang that night. And all of a sudden, Dwight, who was a very good friend of mine, he was studying for the ministry, and uh, he he was having bad time. He was ready to walk away from God, and I knew this. But man, I'll tell you what, when I sang that song that night, and this is a spiritual healing, not a physical healing, the he just leapt to his feet, man. It's like God put a fire under him, man. He just started. He said he'll always say that night you sang that song, man, something just.
Hmm.
He's been the preacher of his own church for over 30 years now.
Wow.
He was my best man at my wedding. And I'm just thankful that, you know, that night God did prove to me that there was a healing within Dwight. And it, you know, so that proved to me right there that, you know, it's not me, but it's God through me as I sing, touching the person. That's the gift of the healing. Because I totally had a different concept of healing, you know, but and then I've seen other things. And there's some other stories I want to share that becoming an Elvis Tribute Artist that's taken place in my life that mean more to me than any competition win, anything. I mean, it doesn't even top those things, even though those things are great and I love them and I'm all about it. I support all the guys who make it to the ultimate and everything. And you know, I have my favorite guy that I want to win, and it's like that. I told I actually bet Jimmy $100 backstage that he was going to win the press, and he said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Yeah, you are." I said, "Bet me $100." He bet me in front of two other people, so he owes me $100. But I know what I see, so I'm proud of him. Watching him grow up since he was just above my knee is amazing to see how far he's come, and I just, you know, he'll be the guy I'm rooting for this year. And but I wish everybody the best of luck. You
Man.
know, not everybody's ETA is going to win, and sometimes the fans get really ugly, and I that's one thing I don't like.
Yeah.
I can't stand when people attack people that I love and care for because they won. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
So
That's a lot to unpack all that you just said, man. You're cut from a different cloth and
yes, I always tell that people that.
yeah,
I said I'm a different kind of an ETA.
yeah.
There's I said I'm not like the other ones, and I don't try to compare myself to them or to Elvis or anything. I okay. Here's a hold on a second. Let me dismiss that. Uh, when I was in Memphis, uh, I was up there singing, and I'm kind of in the, if I felt like God wanted me to stop singing for a minute. For some reason, I shared my story about God using my mom and Elvis to help save my life. Bill Rock has read it. I mean, it's on my YouTube channel. Um, I felt like I don't know, because when you're in tune with the spiritual side of things, I'm a cut up in a comic and I get crazy and stupid sometimes, but when it comes down to the spiritual side of it, then that matters most to me. I shared that story and I didn't know it was Sheila Walker, who I invited to come and hang out with me and Joe Esposito and everything, and such a sweetheart. She never knew my story. This was 2014 in Memphis. But anyway, when I was done sharing that, she had come up to me afterwards and she said, "Oh my gosh," she said, just had tears running down her face. She said, and these are things that I like. It's not, "Oh man, you sang so good," and that. No, I want to hear something that really affected you. That's what I long for. That's my win for me. But that's just me. Um, she said, "Erock," she goes, "I had no clue that," she goes, "I have to tell you something." She goes, "This was my last Elvis week." She was in such a state of depression and things happening and everything. And she goes, "I wanted to come and spend one more Elvis week." And she looked at me and she just teared and caused me to cry. But she said, "I was going to go home and kill myself when I was done with Elvis week." Okay. And I mean, you could tell she meant what she was saying. And, but because of me being in tune with the spiritual side, that story that I stopped and I shared was meant to be. She's alive today. She'll tell you after hearing Erock and everything, she goes, "I had more reason to live."
Hmm.
So I'm very thankful for that. And it
Yeah.
just gets no better than that to me. So
Isn't it funny how, you know, all the strife, the struggles, the growing up as you did, and your real biological parents, that situation, being adopted by your aunt and uncle, and just all these things that you accumulated in your life that were so hard, almost leading you to take your own life all
yeah,
these years later, are the exact same thing that save another's. That's
right.
pretty awesome. And the other thing I can't help but say is, I know I know what you mean when it's hard to receive praise. Because you don't want to come off looking arrogant or anything
Right.
like that. But I will say this.
Even though you get accused of being arrogant just by the way you walk, talk, or carry yourself,
Oh
which
gosh.
people
Yeah.
that don't know me,
Yeah.
I'm sorry for their.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that about me too. But the truth of the matter is something I just came across recently. It's very powerful too. When 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 you are praised for something that you know you've done, that God has put you in a place to do,
Right.
ordained you to do, even, or gave you something, and you're praised for that, and you won't receive that praise. You're almost belittling that gift. And it doesn't mean that you have to be, "Hey, yeah, I know it's all about me. Yeah. Yeah, my name's Erock. I know I'm a good singer. Hello, I'll heal you." No, that's not what I'm saying.
That hit me at all.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, no, it's really awesome that you've received this gift. Someone praises you for singing, and you have the ability to just be like, "You know what? Thank you. It's so amazing to be to live your life and know that you're in the right place because God gave you something and you could feel it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm blessed to know that, and I encourage you to find that thing for you, because once you do,
Yeah.
that's the kind of like what's really cool about something like that. And I was not saying that that's what you say. You're by
Right,
the way.
right. Well, even back in the church days, my pastor Coleman McDuff of the McDuff brothers. I don't know if you've ever heard them, but they were all in that. I used to catch for Vestal Goodman and the Happy Good and family, and she used to call me her little biggin, and things like that. So, um, when I told my pastor, I said, I'm really having a hard time of accepting praise, and I don't know, it makes me feel uncomfortable. And I remember what he told me. He said when people used to come to me and tell me how good I was and that loved to singing and all that, he says, you know what I would do after church? He goes, I would take all those thank yous and I would go outside, and he would literally say, okay, Lord, all these thank yous and praises that I got today, he said, belong to you, because it's because of you. And he would literally throw them into the air in a symbolic deal.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool
Yeah.
that, he did that. It kind of helped me a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you're picked on, made fun, criticized, said you'll never amount to nothing by school teachers, all kinds of stuff. That stuff affects your mind. So you're used to all that negative crap, and you don't know how to deal with the positive thing because it's something that you really never got.
Yeah.
So that was what was trying to balance that out. And then feeling like if I took all that praise, then it wouldn't be right. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just something I always had a hard time with,
Yeah. I get
you
it.
know.
And there's so many cases of when you've grown up in a situation like you had, um, uh, and there's variations of that situation, no doubt about it. But like, what happens is you don't know how to find success. You don't know how to find happiness. You don't know how to find self-value, worth.
Right.
You're almost like you've been beat down so much. You're like, I obviously can't deserve this good thing in my life. You know what I mean? So for you to talk all these years later, about that, and obviously have made that breakthrough, that's amazing to hear, man.
I appreciate that.
So
I can, I'll go
go ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, I remember it was 2007. Of course, I was like 290 pounds back then. We were building the Gloria Jean's Coffee down on the landing in Branson. And so my boss was playing one of my CDs where I sing Elvis songs. And he walked in and said, he goes, oh, I like Elvis. And he goes, well, that ain't Elvis. That's that guy over there. He goes, no way. He goes, yeah. He goes, and then he goes, you know what? He goes, they're having this competition in Branson. It was the first ultimate competition I think you guys put on. It was at the other theater
Yeah.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, Sherry Lynn Miller, of course, Sherry, she got wind of that. And then she says, you're going to go to this competition. I said, no, I'm not. Because I said I would never in my life am I ever going to wear a jumpsuit and do that. I'll sing Elvis, but not going to have, no, yeah, you are. She would not leave me alone. And I'm where I'm at today because of Sherry Miller. If it wasn't for her, the wonderful things that I've experienced and the friendships with Joe and people and all the great moments of singing and having, I'm yet going to tell my favorite story of the best thing that ever happened to us or to me in the Elvis world ever. I'll share that with you shortly. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. And of course, here I am. I have no clue about trying to be an Elvis guy. I'm 290 pounds. So what do? I go on well, I think it was eBay or something. I'm trying to bid on that flowered shirt, right? And I kept getting, so I ended up with this big gold. I don't know if you were there or not, but Ronnie was the MC, I think, at that time. So I had this big puffy gold shirt. So then I got these black pants, and I literally put these like sequin stuff down the sides of the legs and glued them on with that stuff. And, just to try to have something, just to shut Sherry up so I could just be done, you know. And and then we tried to find this wig, and they got this $20 wig, and it looked like Don King and what do we say? I don't know. It was just a mess. But
Right.
I went into a beauty parlor down there in Branson and had this guy style that cheap wig. And when you see me come out on stage, I mean, I look like a big Rolo, which I love that candy, but because of the colors. So anyway, my sister's in the audience. So these two ladies are sitting behind her. I'm nervous wreck. I don't want to be there. I just want to get this over with and go home. So um, these two ladies go, oh my God, what's this one going to be like? Right. So my sister turns around and she goes, look, this is his first time. He's never done this before. He's a little nervous. I said, it doesn't matter what he's wearing. So just wait till he sings. Okay. She literally said that to these two ladies in the audience. So here I am. I come out. And that I remember that I think there was a grate in the floor. The sound was amazing there. So anyway, I sang "How Great Thou Art." Okay, I said that was one of the first song I did. I mean, that's the first one, only one I did, I think. Then, and I mean the crowd double. I mean, everybody in this audience stood up and just, I mean, they just went crazy, and kind of blew me away. And I was so after I was done, I went backstage. I literally broke down, and I was so emotional. And just they went and got Sherry, and she had to come back and try to calm me down because I was just like,
Oh,
I didn't even know what to think about that. And but that was my first time ever doing it, and I think that was the year that Sean Clush won. I think, right, 2007.
yeah, he won the first one. Yep.
Yeah, the first one. So
Yep.
that was my first time ever, and then I was done. And
So
then,
you
of
won
course,
at Branson,
Ronnie,
though. You won at
huh?
Branson. You
The one
won
in
Branson,
Branson.
and then you went to the
I
Alton.
won Branson in 2010.
Oh,
This was 2007, the very first time I ever did the Elvis thing.
okay.
So in 2010, I won
Okay.
because I'd already been, around a little bit after that. I wasn't going to be around. I was done. Of course, Ronnie, he comes up to me and he goes, I got a spot for you in lacrosse at Elvis Explosion. He goes, I want you to lose that wig, lose that deal. And he says, and I said, I'm not coming there. Sherry goes, he'll be there. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I was done. Funniest story before Ronnie ever knew me, though. I have to share this because it's hilarious. So anyway, okay, this is 2007. Okay, so now
Right.
you got to go 11 years back from there.
Okay.
When Ronnie was across the room, Sherry goes, see that guy over there? I said, yeah. He stood me up on a date one night, right? I said, no, he didn't. She goes, yes, he did. She goes, and don't you say a damn thing. Well, me, I walk up to Ronnie. He doesn't even know I'm in the contest. He doesn't even know me from Adam. I walk up to Ronnie and I go, hey, man. He goes, yeah. I go, why did you stand up my sister? What are you talking about? You know, you stood up my sister 11 years ago. I said, that's her right over there. Ronnie turned me, look, and he goes, oh my God, I messed up. He didn't actually say that. He said something else. But anyway, and Sherry's over there mouthing, I'm going to kill you. But so then he sees that I'm in the competition, right?
Right.
Then he invites me to lacrosse, which I didn't want to go to. I was done doing this Elvis thing. That was good enough for me. And I just wanted to go back to being that Elvis fan in my room where you have less stress.
Sure.
Beautiful music and things like that. Uh, and I still tell them this day, the only reason you invited me to lacrosse back then was because you felt bad about standing up my sister. That's why. No, that's not true. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I always busted his balls with that anyway. But
I don't think yeah, Ronnie is I love Ronnie. He'll but if he sees someone that might have that bit of talent or whatnot, you gotta come to Explosion.
yeah, he goes, lose that wig, lose that this, and go out there and do what you just did to what you did to that crowd. I want you to come and do the same thing in lacrosse.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was in that big arena, man. I about got nauseous, man. We walked into that looking up above,
Yeah.
and I was like, I can't sing in here, He says, you better. But yeah, I did. And
You won at lacrosse.
uh
Elvis Explosion. You've won that, right?
no, I don't think so. I won for me, in all honesty, Ryan, I would prefer a fan choice award over a win any day. That just means so much more to me.
I
Uh,
get it. I get it. But the bottom line
it really
is
does.
you're really good at what you do. I mean, and I think it's really cool that you're just kind of like, yeah, a little jealous of you, to be honest. In
What's that?
in a good way. Oh, because you have such an amazing gift. I think it's amazing. And it transcends the Elvis world for sure. People all the time will say, man, there's some really good singers out there, but when Erock sings, there's something different. They say that all the time. When Erock sings, it's something different. I think that's that je ne sais quoi that you're talking about, that thing where
Right.
it is
Or what
special.
the
It's
or
healing.
what the lady in my church told me. I think that has
Yeah.
something to do with it too, in my opinion. But I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, it feels, and I don't mean this I mean this as a compliment. It feels effortless. It feels just you're out there, just you know, you're not singing it, you're emoting it. If that makes any sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's coming from a different place, and I think that's important because I think one of your benefits is that you're not thinking about, oh my god, I got to sound exactly like Elvis here. Or, oh my gosh, I got to make sure the right words and make sure I'm walking around, make sure I
None of that
do
enters
all
my
this.
mind. None of that enters my mind before I step on stage.
Exactly. And the only other person that didn't in his head think, oh my God, I got to go out here and be Elvis today. You know who? Elvis. Elvis never went out on stage and said, by God, I really got to be myself today. I got to make sure that I do this suspicious minds. And then, yeah, polk salad. Got to do this here.
Yeah.
You know, and
I can sing those songs, but it'd be stupid because I wouldn't be moving because my body don't work like that anymore. It's
yeah,
too rough.
I get it. But see, that's the point though. It's just like that's why you're cut from a different cloth.
Yeah.
You're out there for a different reason.
And I
And
will remain the same always. I remember when me and Sherry went to our first Elvis Memphis Elvis deal.
hmm,
Never, and then we went to the candlelight vigil. Well, my mom's favorite song was "How Great Thou Art." It really meant something to her. And when I got to sing on Elvis' stage there in Vegas, where my mom seen Elvis, it was so emotional for me.
oh, I bet.
My mom was gone; she never got to see me do this, so it was really emotional to know my mom sat in that audience. That my mom fought with another woman on with a scarf. so, um, so it meant something to me, and somebody had taken this photo. It's kind of weird um, when you when I standing in front of Graceland Gates or anywhere in Memphis. There's always these orbs all over me.
Hmm,
A
hmm.
lot. There's this giant orb. Now people say, "Oh, it's camera stuff." Well, I got news for you. It ain't camera stuff. There's this giant orb floating to the right side of the stage. And I seen that and it just kind of hit me. And I was like, I just believe that's my mom watching me on stage.
Hmm.
because people that say it's camera stuff, me and Matt Joyce, who I love, one of my dear friends, you know, we did a show at the oldest theater in, I think it was Arizona, maybe. It was on Ghost Hunters
Yuma?
one
Was it
time.
in Yuma?
The,
Yuma?
well, wherever that theater, yeah, it could have been Yuma. I don't even remember now, but it was the oldest theater in America,
Okay.
from what I understood. And a young girl had fallen off the balcony and died. And the people told us, told Matt this and me, and says, you'll see her sometimes. I'm like, okay. So anyway, um, we're downstairs, and apparently another guy died in the basement down there. So we're down there in our separate room getting ready. Well, um, Matt's got my camera, and he's calling this little girl to come out and play. He's literally saying this while he's shooting photos down the hallway. He said, come on, little girl, come show me yourself. And he's shooting photos, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm sitting in the chair there putting my makeup on. And all of a sudden, man, I don't know what it was, but this light of energy just shot through my body, man, and just set me on fire. And I was like, whoa. And you go back and you look at these pictures, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Matt's taken down the hallway. Well, here's my dressing room. All of a sudden, you see this little orb coming out the door, and it follows up with just like a big wave of orbs comes flying out the door on these photos. And that was that was right at that moment that whatever that was. But I've never seen that many orbs as like a wave, ocean wave,
Hmm.
come out of a door like that in my life. So don't tell me it's camera stuff, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, then Matt's upstairs. He's in his army outfit. He's singing. So what do? Because he did this, I decided to go in. He's got a full bottle of water. Well, I drink the water all the way down about that much, and then I tip it over and I put the cap down on the floor. Then he comes back down, and you hear him go, Erock, did you drink my water? And I go,
Oh.
what? And I go,
Oh.
why would I drink your water? I go, I got my own water. Dude, somebody drink my water. And he's like freaking out. I go, well, you called her out to come out and play. So there you go, buddy. And so he doesn't know this. He's going to know now. But then when he went back upstairs, I finished off the water, put the cap back on it, set it straight up on the table there, and went back in my room. He come down and he just started freaking out again. I said, don't call ghosts to come and play, dude. I goes, that's not right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That was so much fun.
I can see Matt doing that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Just Erock. Erock.
Yeah, you're doing perfect.
Oh, you gotta have that smile. He's got that smile, man. It's just
Oh man, he does. I remember the first time I ever met him. I think it was lacrosse. He was coming up the stairs, and I was coming off the stage. Just totally like, I think it was my first time. Maybe I don't remember.
yeah.
But he said, hey, whatever, and I just completely ignored him. He told me, he goes, you totally ignored me, dude. Like, and I go, oh, I didn't mean to, man. I was just a nervous wreck. I didn't, But we became good friends after that, and you know. Um, quite a few of the guys that I love, even though sometimes I have to try to keep them on track too sometimes, or tell them like it is, or because that's just me. I have to do that sometimes just to try to help them out.
Means you're a good friend.
I'm that kind of guy. I've had people from this deal say, oh, you're like you're this, you're that, and whatever, and act like you're your friend. And then you find out they said some really awful crap about you. And I remember one guy coming up to me, and because I love real people, I love genuine people. And I don't even remember who he was, but he said, Erock, man, you can sing, you're cool, but sometimes you're an a-hole, man. And I said, give me your hand and shake that right now. Because I loved that he said it right to my face. He didn't pretend to be my friend, and I admired that from him. I said, I will try to work best of my ability not to be that a-hole, man. I'm so sorry.
That's awesome.
So that's just me.
That's awesome. Couple questions about Elvis. All right. Number one.
Okay.
what is your favorite Elvis song to sing? I would say perform. I don't know that you're out there necessarily performing, but you are singing the heck out of it. What is your favorite song? And if it's a How Great Thou Art, I get it's How Great Thou Art. But
Right.
if it is, then tell me your second favorite.
Okay. Probably How Great, because that was my mom's favorite, and I'll share the
Right.
story why that means so much to me. But the second song is the song I sang this last weekend,
It's
which
over.
means the most to me too. And I used to mess it up so much because my mind, man, I go blank sometimes because I get so in, and I don't know, I can't explain it.
Is it it's over?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's What Now, My Love.
Oh yeah.
The reason for that is that I invited Joe and Shirley out to Branson Branson Elvis Fest in uh, where I used to help promote Elvis Rocks Mesquite. That was kind of my baby until the casino stole it from us,
Right.
and uh, I brought him out there and put him up in a hotel, and he was able to, sell his books and stuff like that. But it was out. It wasn't in the casino. It was out in a big tented area. I actually had a video of it, I believe. There's about 1,500 people out there, and I was performing first. I actually had Cole there with me too. My buddy, I love Cole to death. Um, I was singing, and apparently Shirley told me when Joe hears you sing and he likes you, he wants to come up to the stage. When he was alive, of course. But um, I just got done singing "What Now, My Love," and I remember somebody walking towards me because I'm up a little higher, and I remember, with the lights and everything, seeing somebody come my way, and it was Joe, and he's just tearing his eyes. He reaches up and he grabs a hold of my, Louis lock, all forearms. And he's like, "Oh my God, Erock." He goes, "That was so beautiful." He's just got tears rolling down his face. And that just meant a lot to me. But what really meant the most to me is what he said to me. Because then we became pretty close after that first time that heard me sing. I got some funny stories with Joe that blow your mind. But uh, he said, "You know what?" I said, "What, Joe?" And he goes, "You can really feel the love from my friend when you sing."
Hmm.
And that just meant the world to me. It's
Yeah.
not, "Oh, you sound like my friend," or "Yeah." That just meant a lot to me. So that song's always special to me to sing because of that with Joe. So I hate to jack it up. I get so mad at myself if I crack or anything. I just don't like to crack.
That's a
So
that's a tough song to sing, sir.
yeah, it is.
Well, I
But
got
that's my second favorite besides the reason behind How Great Thou Art.
I love It's Over. You do an amazing job at that too. And
Oh, yeah, it's
it's one of
over. The
mine.
Things That Have It band. Joe, the drummer, when I first did that one time, he goes, "Oh man, I'm so excited you're doing It's Over. Nobody ever does It's Over. I've always wanted somebody to do It's Over." So
Yeah.
I love It's Over.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
beautiful song. Well, I got one more question for you, Erock, and this is an interesting one because it really tells a little bit about the human being and and the relationship maybe with Elvis, at least in their own life. Um, if you had the ability to go back in time and pick a year, it doesn't matter. Go back in time and have 1 hour to talk to Elvis Presley. What year would you pick? What would you say?
I would have to say I'd go back to the time that I saw him in concert because it was so life changing. I would want to tell him thank you and for touching my life, and keeping me going, and I don't, it's hard. It's really hard to, you'd be nervous, first of all, you know,
You said you were going to be, you said
I
you were
think he
nervous
would
coming
like
on here
me,
today. I don't believe
huh?
you're nervous. You said you were going to be nervous today talking about this stuff. I don't think you're that nervous, Erock. You're good.
Well,
I
I
think you'd
kind
be
of
good.
hold the, I just think hopefully he would like me. I know Joe always said Elvis would have loved you. He always used to tell me that
Yeah,
Elvis would have loved you.
that's
And
awesome.
that meant a lot. That meant a lot,
Sure.
coming from him. So,
All right. Do you
but
have do you have social media? What do you got out there so people can follow you? I know you do. You stay pretty busy. We got shows all the time. Um,
no, I don't. Sadly, I don't do a whole lot of shows and travel much anymore because of Kimmy and her all the ailments that she has going on right now. It breaks my heart to watch her suffer pretty much every day.
hmm,
Um, she's my main reason.
yeah.
So I'm not out of the ground. Whatever. I just want her to get better.
Okay. Amen. Amen. How do people follow you, Erock? I know you're on Facebook. You got a massive following there. Um, anything else? What is it?
Just it's under my real name, Eric Hawes, H-A. I see right here on this still it says Erock Hard on my picture below my name. I think that's my old email or something. I don't know.
It
Hopefully
does.
that ain't gonna show on the screen.
Oh, I'm gonna blow it up. That's hilarious. I can see it now. I haven't even looked at the actual computer, but yeah, I can see
I'm
it.
not even sure why that. I'm not even sure why that's like that, but I don't remember.
Yeah. So what is your
But
Facebook?
I rock hard, man.
Yeah, you do.
I mean,
Eric.
I'm not just an Elvis guy. I sing. I love singing rock and roll. The ease for the Elvis to rock is because I'm a rocker at heart. I love to rock.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I
But
got you.
Eric Hawes is my Facebook and uh, Instagram. I have Erockagram, I think it's called. I don't know, something like that. I'm always posting something. Sometimes people don't like what I post, but oh well, scroll on by.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Well, dude, this has been insightful, no doubt about it. I appreciate it.
Can I share the one story with you though about
Yeah.
the greatest moment since being an Elvis tribute artist?
Yes,
Do
please.
we have time for that?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I used to love to go to K-Lip's Elvis Fest.
Hmm.
And I used to room with Patty Perry, but don't family member of the Memphis Mafia. She was such a hoot. I miss that girl. I actually got to sing in her funeral service, and I got to sing in Joe's service. And but I always liked the. I need to go back there. It's been a while since I've been there. Anyway, when it comes to how great thou art, before I sing that song, there I always say a prayer.
Hmm.
Well, I went outside out the back door portage there. And I went outside and I said a prayer and I just asked God, I said, to let this song touch somebody. And and I hope that there's somebody can come up and give me that meat and tell me it done for them. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want. I don't want, oh my gosh, you sing so good, all this. I want something, I've had big men come up to me with tears in their eyes and goosebumps saying, dude, you just took me back to a place I hadn't been in I don't know how long. And I just want to say thank you. That means a lot to me when stuff like that happens. That's what I always look for after that I get the opportunity to sing and do the Elvis thing. So I said that prayer and then I went out and it was my turn to sing and I sang How Great Thou Art. And of course I double tagged it and I got standing ovation and everything. And then it was it was over that night. And then I was walking out and Sherry was over there with somebody and she was calling me over. She's like, come here, come here, come here. So I went over there and she goes, and both her and this little old man was just had tears in her eyes and stuff. And she goes, tell him what you just told me. Tell him what you just told me. And I said, Well, I shook his hand. I said, "It's so nice to meet you," and he looks up at me and he's just got tears in his eyes, and he says, "Son, I just wanted to say thank you for singing me and my wife's song that we always dance to." Now, a lot of people wouldn't understand why you would dance to How Great Thou Art. Why wouldn't you dance to Barry White or whatever? But I got it because their relationship with God, you know. Um, so I said, "You're so welcome." I said, "Where's your wife?" And he looks at me, he's just tearing. He says, "She's been gone for 20 years now." He says to me, and he's looking at me dead in the eye, and he says, "For the first time in 20 years, when you sang today, you made me feel like my wife was back in my arms again." And I just wanted to say thank you so much for that. Oh, it gets better. I said, "Well, you're very welcome." I'm kind of like, because I'm a crier, so I can't help it. I cry at movies, Notebook, you name it. I've cried at all of them. Um, so we said our goodbyes, and nothing will ever, since the years that I've been an Elvis Tribute Artist, will ever even compare. Not winning Branson Elvis Fest, nothing, or coming in top five. Nothing tops this. There means more to me than anything than this little old man. We said our goodbyes. He starts to walk off. I kid you not, Ryan. He turns around and he looks at me, and it's like the little lady in our church with those eyes of heaven looks at me and goes, "By the way, my wife wanted me to tell you that she heard your prayer outside today." I kid you not. The fire went from my feet all the way up, shot through the top of my head, man. There's no way that man knew I was outside praying. So those are those spiritual moments that happen that I love to see. That's what I look for. That's what I search for. And I always try to communicate with some of the younger guys and stuff, and study your craft, buy all your jumpsuits, but don't forget about the spiritual side. Don't forget about how you can touch somebody's life out there just by singing and what it can do for them. Elvis was a very concerned man about people. He wasn't perfect. I'm not, nobody's perfect, but he still had that spiritual side to him. And that's the part that I love that's in me more than anything else. And I I never step on the stage without hoping that somebody today is going to be touched when I sing. And that's what I hope to hear afterwards. I don't, I mean, great if I win, fabulous, you know, but that's a win for me when you see that you actually just inspired somebody, or I, so like you say, and like I've always said, I'm cut from a different cloth. I'm not the same kind of ETA as everybody else, and none of us should be. We should be our own individual people, and God uses, people in certain ways. And I'm just glad that I have the opportunity that He uses me, and I'm always looking for that next little guy or woman or anything that, that that's just, it's almost scary to a point where you just kind of like, wow, it's just unbelievable. You see what I'm telling them is that spiritual side, when you're performing as Elvis, when you can get that and that comes back to you, what a gift, what a thing that will never, ever,
Hmm.
nothing will compare to it. And you'll always hold that deep. I mean, your trophies are going to collect dust like mine up there on the shelf, but that will never, that means the most to me since being, and I'm so glad that I've had the opportunities to get to know such great people, Elvis's people. And, I have other incidences too, but I know you ain't got time for all that, but that's taken place spiritually, being an Elvis tribute artist. And I just love, that's my excitement when I go out there and I sing. somebody's gonna, it's gonna move somebody. It's gonna touch somebody's life. That's what I want. That's what I seek and search for.
It's awesome.
So that's about all I can say, I guess.
Erock, I learned so much about you today. Things I knew, certain things I knew, and certain things I didn't know, and certainly the depth of certain things I didn't know. And I'll tell you what, it's been a ride, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And I think honestly, Erock, in a weird sort of way, this getting out there and for people to hear it from you, directly from you.
I've always wanted to have a video sharing some of my stories, but I just never did it.
Well, I think this is a great opportunity for people to see it and to connect. And who knows, you might be hearing from them. You might not have to go out anymore to them. You know, you can be home with Kimmy because they're going to be reaching out to you, because I tell you, what you had to say today was powerful.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. I love you, brother.
I love you too, man.
All right. Be amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, he's awesome. My good buddy, the one and only Erock. Thanks for tuning in this week to the ETA Files. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And as always, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the ETA Files community. And if you're looking for something a little different, be sure to stop by my podcast, The Ryan Files. Keep rocking, my friends, and I'll see you next week with another story from the Elvis Tribute Artist world. In the meantime, check out these video links below.